Hi everyone, my name is Diana and I'm with the Fayetteville Public Library. I am the Multicultural Community Liaison, and I just wanted to say welcome to this virtual workshop with Marshallese Educational Initiative. Today we have partnered with Marcina, Langrine, and Richard Laraya from Marshallese Educational Initiative to provide information regarding the Census 2020 and the benefits that it brings our communities. Because of the deadline having been moved up a month in advance, we want to be making sure that our Marshallese communities as well as our Spanish-speaking communities are aware of the deadline and that they're being accounted for. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to have a presentation by MEI, and then the last, like the other virtual programs that we've had, the last 15 minutes we're going to allocate for any questions that you might have. If you are, again, if you're watching us through Facebook Live, you're welcome to leave a question in the comments area, and then we can let the MEI representatives know towards the end. Prior to actually getting started, I'd like to introduce the both of them. Marcina is a program coordinator with the Marshallese Educational Initiative. She works primarily with the youth and currently working on the census and COVID assistance. She is a mentor and a tutor at Turnbow Elementary and a manager for a band called Mark Harmony. She's also a student at the University of Arkansas and is pursuing a degree in early education. Welcome, Marcina. Richard is a media specialist at Marshallese Educational Initiative. He is happily married with 2 children, and one of his favorite pastimes is photography and videography, and he especially loves graphic design. Just want to give a huge welcome to the both of them and thank them for their time in coming today through and partnering with us through the Fayetteville Public Library to let our Marshallese communities know about the census. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the both of you.
Okay, hello everyone. Can you see me okay, Dana? Let's see.
Yes, I can see you.
All right, okay. Just wanted to make sure. Hello everyone, my name is Marcina. I want to thank Dinah first off and Fayetteville Public Library for inviting MEI to speak about census today. And Richard, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Richard, and I'm so glad to be part of this census live on Facebook. And again, enjoy him tuning.
Marcina Langrine ngay chuan ro rijal bayo ami aro ilo community aro Springdale, Arkansas. Ngay chuan program coordinator ilo chuan nonprofit called Marshallese Educational Initiative or MEI. Ina claim kamolod ani ken chuan ran ay boyoj in olive ro marong ko wado ilo yinin. Igran parkile ro ali ro madirin olive ro. Ruto roari do kin in Jarbar Loido, Jugim Berin Arawajilo, Arkansas. You can have Kamole Dana in Fayetteville Public Library, Connecticut, Uvi in Arrow in Marung, Konono Gin Jarbar Ginar. And writing Jitan Kanangage census in an out of Wajan Bonaban. So let's get
Nanam Cholokparangalip, I am Gajagar Kuala Kargari, Laraya Chuan media specialist, program manager ilo MEI, the Jobi Arang me Kajo Jitogum Katuk Chibani, Paran Pachunalan, Kaudej Komolip, Torian Kaudej, Jojum Jaga Emalagi Niki chain Oregon census, Kamora Diana. Chen Public Library, Fayetteville Public Library, kanan marongan ito gini ngan kamuro Marcina bo kamuro chere jet melele igi chen census.
more Richard. Let's see. We're gonna get one more login back. Talk about MEI.
Enga ini kuala ciri kadang-kadang MEI tajar balagan MEI. MEI is one non-profit organization image fellow Springdale, Arkansas. Eka reja gilo ione 2000 romo chilu agar jag jen jet reservoir me echep remajo aga jet matar balle imrar chino e jaga kammane jet par connection i pere kochen marman kaju da go biji tago gamit kammane ilo obije gamit kachiyong kadagin enot ajuri ro rutoro parenot kachoyo roim recep chalagan enot obije ne ngan dan chibang gi chen education elang par chat kain program go enot history and culture para enot elang kain service go me kemit company ngan kare elang youth program elang senior kemit par chibang gi chen go me par elang kain program go me kemit company.
Thank you. Like he said, we are a nonprofit organization that is located in Springdale, Arkansas. It was founded in 2013 by non-Marshallese educators named April Brown and Jessica, and also community members. Our primary goal is to raise awareness of the Marshallese history and culture. And we have several programs that we do. And such programs are programs for the youth, programs for women, and the others, and so forth. And let's go to the next slide. So, dying census. Census is Panabani Kajin Mayo, and with Anjamana, you are Meraga Kabin Ebwe, census in common olive Jongolia, when Pune olive Arami roll Perilo America. Janajari Ejgablada Toglagan Arami Joini Chavoilo, Epo Juan Ran, olive Rejai Wijin Panaban. And Richard, if you have anything to add, just.
Emman iloan Marcina ba changes panban kamane panban gwar ilo olip chongulia iloan ba chanajirio ngan gutoyo mena chabo ngalani ne ba ngayar chabo ilo ne ebo chon ran ne chenet county elgun awrak pe kajbo jen pakunar ilo panbani kuneo kanaga jen kwalok nambaginar the elang ENJ jaigu pan ngan Amerika kachit chibang ilo ane pokunari lo panubanin kwalo karegari kap chade nembagainar matan menogome pelgun aur kilo kachojo charawal auragin nampa elang parmelego latak chenik pugilegandak igi chen tain chenches imta auragin.
Okay, Richard, I'll go ahead and do English and you can do Marshallese. Okay, so we're going to be talking about census and COVID and how COVID has affected the account on census. So typically, census workers would go out door to door to get an accurate count.
Tomorrow kanna ni changes in COVID anang ni megana me ejiri mi jana garito reservoir leo reservoir ro changes rana adalanga niyam impune ro rachangan gar kan changes wire.
With COVID, we did everything had to be restricted, meaning things had to be done either virtually, remotely, and yeah.
Igi jeno the nangin mejin megaman kabang man go mengan reservoir ro meran garito tak kajuwat chen garito ngan eno do biji ko chetam kanne changes in ngache chemalale uga kanot nangin mejin egamman be olip charabal again reno gadak chej kaigu company kanne changes in survey ni no online megamman be olip charabal go me chenar company inamat no di do da menagin banabun egamman be nangin mejin egamman be chen company charabal go ar illo meja do agilo adan online.
So what are the benefits of census? General census reactivan ikujin jugul, hospital, yellow benefits go on public health evaluation lab. Ilo menjualan ada orang kajarba joint program called Free and Reduced Lunch. Census ichiban kalai per service so they're available. Ilo hospital gan census ichiban hospital ilo train. Genio gen census ichiban pue hospital in Jugagot. For the road census is para kajarba data yon census pue renjala yo remarong common yellow. And Richard, if you want to talk about the other two.
Okay. Enodan kamelele ta chenin chibangin rejito gojenia. Chenin chibangin rejito gojen federal funding ko. Unina nauruk kejojin pokunari lo penebenin. Chenagain rejito lo nampagani me chongon lengan army jilo ar. Ngaya chunwan chong ngaya roba charngan choin elang rajaigu chalai. Chate chongon lengan army jilo chuan chujugin perpe. Ranarungun ledok chenagin ngan kalak enot chicken tagadogo ilo then ilo chicken go me jino lengan army ji. Enot hospital chicken chugulo ngan kere karago chicken chugulo. Mga ever lang chicken go ilo kabi chicken go chet emrajaigu hospital. Eko enam bagin ar me char then kanne survey. Eko alok chede oran kaj army jilo chuan pugan gamman bechenin chibangi tonido em kajudak akagali alago kamani manjugulgo em ever langala kain win go me chenin ene chibankale.
More Richard. So irugun aurok pues pueden ganne census gonna go bunabun yo ainigiam irugun elaban aurok. So elaban aurok pues kuen pone pamle yo chulu wawin ko kumarang kanengan census yo kumarang kanelo telephone ilo 844-330-2020 or kumarang kanelo online lo join computer or tablet by going to www.my2020census.gov or mail when you receive a mail-in census. And then And then here's a short video of how to fill out the census.
Angine chirikin video yo kumuro arte boje. Ilo video ene kwalo kilen wawin ngin chilu nganam kanne census yawa. Ne ko yego chibang ko ene jilang kanda ko edit kada ilo video ne ko changan ngar kanne census yawa chojum kurdo obi jina ne mi ai ak obi ko chet an rumajal chamarong jeni guni monanan chibango.
Ya koy kwar chala ga yor chilu wawin go an kanne census yawa me kwar chaje e boy video ine na kwala klen wawin in chilu ngan ka yo kachujo em kain kajuan e ilo am kajabal computer yawa em kanne census yawa online kain karwo ilo am kajarbal talbone yawa em khulok na bain an census chilu team wan changes and chilling and watch again we are not chilling and watch one meal ilo ma chongo royo emilo video in and chilling larger ko and why we need chilu in jar kalajaragi igi chen why we narrow it can census in our eleven hour pochin pokunari lo why we again chilling chicken go red repelong and arrow Kajarpali service require no the internet in free Wi-Fi go. In chicken again ranaj perilo video in. Parano delang chicken ko chene jigdi namba again air ako bijo ngan arwach kachujo kuloger kachidak chibang. Elap and our kachujin pokunar ilo panin. Ngan melala korala igichin wamina kanne survey wam accents wam choyim kurdo wo bijigen elangro rane jiban kach paranot jiling chicken wo rane pawa ngan arwach ilagum kanne survey in parchonale ngai chebilo talbon ngai chebilo internet ngai chebilo peba wa win chilu chono di air konoron kanne bilo video in naj kalikar wa win la jara kain chilu Pokun marungan kanne survey wa online ko jegi jilagon website wan census website is my2020census.gov. Kia eligram input olap ladage ilo website kia ene jawaleng dak parchuan window ilo window never izin ejabol ke jina kone chibere chene me start questioning ilo paper nila ngor ne chongoro nambage ne census ID ko am takon marungan relang apple ke jinin ko jewi karelo tiji to kin chongoro census ID ke nam imrabar ilo paper yo census archilingan wat karelo nambage chongoro ilo an pokin chidu chiber login elganam chiber login kia komarungan kia kanne survey am online komarung baranot kajarbal talpone am nganam kanne census jawam ilo am call alak number 1844-330-2020 emilo amnet caller credit kachitak chat information go jen koi olep melalego ak information go kona dilak tanat perilo itno echala chun ena chala can all of any information go am jagaron da government jagaron da police mero jagaron da army yo ena kachitak melalagam pachamin lelak melalagam nganchabrewat email tada ilo am kanne survey wa ilo pay payo jan theme wa changes chilling no wajanga nada rejawa ilo am kanne pay bai email relo komarong parano chilling log ngan atare jawan census image per ilo envelope chilling no ngan atare jawa agne ko chip kanan kanne ilo pay bayo yo option again ro call akane online jadakin par wawin komarong kanne ko chep kanan kanne ilo pe bayo jojum ka jawarok melo rar chilin wach pe ilo pe bain ever census ID yawam konij ayguji na bagin chongoro pokon marogon kanne abol ge jene am online eno da karpa mala gane jiling chigin chibanko eno Springdale Public Library OBJ1 RMI Counselor OBJ1 MEI OBJ1 ACAM, OBJ1 Legal Aid of Arkansas, Paranot Elengro ilo Manchugulo, Ramajaro Imrachipang, Kajoj Ubog ilo Kajenewar, Paranot Eleng Reservaro UAMS, Eleng Reservaro ilo Community Clinic, Eleng Reservaro ilo Kachojo Chiginko ilo Arkansas in Imbrabarang Chibankaj, Imbrajala Kanono ilo Kajin Pelle. Imperkagimi image ilo survey wam chojim chonmalok in marge chane ak chegi Marshallese ilo ijana mene kachito queria ene dilang option go anodria wai ria merga prilal hojat ego yor chuan chicken ilo chane ejba other Pacific Islander ko jegi chane ak mage chane in chegi Marshallese
isin imal ke pachirik mugda
Okay.
eng ilogar video yo eno dagar kamelale ge eleng chigene go ramarong chibangkech karne chenjeji na ilo terrain me eno darba igi chen nangan meji ijege rekilek ilo kadani aga eleng obiji kum marong kolo to obiji ge kachidak chibang ko jegu chibang karne chenjeje wa eno dargar likun kamelale ge all melale go am echalak chuani na chala all of melale go ranet perilo ituno Never chabro chojim kur club go bijigo kachojo arilo adan springali tumo.
More Richard. And I'll go ahead and do the English one. Here are some things that you should know about census. A couple of those things is the census will never ask you certain questions. During the 2020 census, the Census Bureau will never ask you for it.
Yagine komene jala glale pija yor chuan nan chana ilawan trangarne iba scam melelin nane ilo kajini nar e riabun changes apan kachidak kome rabarijin eno kachidak gadan chojalawam chojanam bayawam Census apan pinwan census apan kachidak change en koi apan kachidak donation apan kachidak elang kain melele ko bank credit number account number apan kachidak na buying passport I-94 all of minigay ni me region Census Bureau apan kachidak ngay ene jilang call marami jere riap imba Cherabali pen census emraj kachidagi olbin kachidak injen ko melelin beraj riap kajaban nana scam melelin ba armi jana kachiyong riap koche ba igu juwage ngera kachidak chojala wa koje igu report ngan census bureau.
And some things that the Bureau won't ask for you would be your Social Security, money or donations, anything on behalf of a political party, your bank or credit card account numbers and statements. And also, the census also does not ask for a citizenship question. If someone does claim to be from the Census Bureau and contacts you via email or phone or ask you any of these things, just know that it is a scam and you should not cooperate. And a common question that most people do ask about their after they fill out their census is, what happens to my answers? We want to tell them that your personal information is kept very, very confidential. The Census Bureau, they have a vow where they are not to share any of your information to anybody. And a lot of people are worried that it will be shared within the public, but within the law, it is not supposed to be shared because it is confidential. The Census Bureau is bound by federal law to protect your information, and then that data that is collected is only used for statistical purposes, such as data for the schools, the roads. That is why it is very important that we get this count out and that you and your family get counted.
Kachidagin gijong yidongan kachim kachidag ipel magi uwa kena rajadalangania information kena rajadalangania molef melelego igichen koi akpa malewam perilo ituno melelin nane confidential melelin be ituno echalak chuaneo ene chalagan melelego am Census Bureau echen nedan federal matan kagi enago an pues en kaje barok ole melelego na yuk all of any information one bache marung duwe jala chakaron tange policeman rorani kachiduk chakaron da chabro de na kachiduk melele go am all of melele go igi chain koi rene pello ituno me chalak chuane ne chala munina nauru pe kajojin pokunari lo panabani enage unin panabani ejidok chain go nganar kalagi manchugul go iman tagado chicken wo jadme ka jangar kanan ga iman census bureau chen raiwan federal law yonganan chibang kejebarok melele go am iman rojet imalab teda ag melele go igi chen go rana charbole wadangan panbun go echalak parwun go chet
Richard. Ngayon, marami kasi consensus niya. Maybe marong chibang kujeng kan puno ba nilo telepon, agilo messenger.
tamage manami waje garro ngayor ko changan gar kanne chenche jewam ejle ngodiyen chep ka talagbe COVID-19 and put chicken chamarong chibanga gilo arne chibanga kanne online ngejeb kokole do kobi jigen chen chibanga anga konan mage kanne o komarong ojengan website no yan census call na bagani me emjal likdilo video in milo lajara kain ngelang kachido ko chibango yojim keba go bijina nemiyai imparno go biju gojet nodan ekam counselor everle go biju gojet ramaron chibango igichen census meligun aur pagajoyen pokunar chep kana be chen chepelle panwani chekanan karongolep tojangolep pagajoyen pokunar ilo panwani ngajenis pokunar tamagane ani nila balak chibango ni jitangan kajoj
And to those who do need help filling out census, MEI is available to help you out in any way. Please contact us through any of those handles that you do see on the screen. And again, Diana, we also want to thank you again for inviting MEI to speak today about census.
No, yeah, I just want to say thank you for partnering with us to be able to get our communities connected and making sure that they're accounted for in the census. I was wondering if, I don't believe we have any questions actually that have come through Facebook. So I'd like to actually make the first question, and if folks have any questions, we'll take like the next 10 minutes to be able to take those questions. But I'm wondering, in your experience, well, first of all, have you all already filled out the census?
yes
Yes.
Okay. And then also wondering, what has your experience been like? Can each of you talk about what your experience has been like when filling it out? Like, how long did it take you? And then if you wouldn't also mind with the questions, if you could also interpret for me what I just asked as well.
Oh, go ahead, Richard.
yeah so when I started filling out the census I thought it was going to be long, but it took me 3 minutes or less. And there were some questions that I couldn't understand, so I had to call census team so they can help me out. And just by filling out the census, there is that feeling that I get to be that's how my voice is being heard, just by filling out the census. And that's what we want for our community, is for everyone to fill out their census, so that way our voice is being heard. And it was I get to help my family members. I started with my family first, so that way I can really understand what the census questionnaire is about. So I have a couple of my families, and then I'm still wanting to help more if the community member needs help with filling out the census.
Yeah, well, my experience personally, like, I personally didn't know what the census was until I was given the project, and I was able to actually learn what the census was. When COVID hit, it actually was a bit of a struggle because that's when I just kind of started getting into it. And a lot of the plans that we had plans to have, like, at the library, they were all canceled due to COVID. So everything had to be done remotely or virtually. Planning events online was pretty hard because I never done one online before. It was always in person. And so just learning how to adapt from being around folks to learning um, to just doing things virtually. It was a big change for me, but overall we were able to create all these videos and all these flyers, like in our language and in English, for other people to see and utilize and to know about. So yeah.
And we also did a couple of videos for, other Pacific Islanders like Krishnaian, Philippines, and Kiribatis. And it was fun to work with. And and I believe we have questions from Dr. Shelton.
Let me check on that. Is that on MEI's page, or is that, oh, okay, perfect. I just saw Dr. Shelton's questions. Thank you, Dr. Shelton. So a question that we have is, are we Marshallese supposed to fill out the census 2020? Do we need to include everyone in the household, including infants or children? What's the deadline? If you could also provide that those questions in Marshallese interpretation as well, Richard, please.
Yago Dr. Shelton, Yago como jalet. Minge olebro ilo yung lo chicken chokoyo or elugo na orok pe kajuwajan pokunaren chejay guj puner chenajerio aladak ilo chun chuaneo ngayar war rupto chunian member ilo pamlo ejagolo lower lowano June no najgari ewe chijabar county Malabro ilo anmo chegwit puneer. Imi tamak deadline ngan kane changes mejilo wij ba changal kun ngani par pagilang ba
The end of this month.
ingane chamalaga nalangi. Thank you, Marcina. Chamalaga nalangi ne jadan deadline ngan kane changes jawa ejalaro diyan ngan kajoj kaino changan gar kane changes jawan jum ke ba to rain chibang higi chain kane changes jawa kamo takar shaldan ngan kachida gina mumman.
So yes, to summarize what he said, yes, the Marshallese do fill out the 2020 census, and you do have to include everyone in your household, from the person that is from an infant to the elder. And so, yes, and the deadline is the end of this month. So thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sheldon.
I wanted to go back to Richard. You had commented that there were a couple questions that you were a little bit unfamiliar with, and I was wondering if you wouldn't mind talking about some of those questions that caused some confusion, just in case if there are some Marshallese community members that might get to that point. And then also, you mentioned you called the census. What number was it that you called?
I had to call the number that we provided. I can't remember the number. It's on the video. I think it's
844 30 2020.
2020. So yes, I called that number, and there was a census helper that helped me through some of the questions. Yes, I think one of the questions that I was confused is, man, I feel like my census back in March or April, um, but there were questions regarding, I think it was a relationship or something like that. I'm gonna have to, probably go back to the questionnaires and find that out.
Marcina, were there any questions that when you were on the census that were confusing for you?
For me, no, but I did have to, since the census wasn't translated in our language, I had to I had to try my best and translate it the best way that I can for our Marshallese community.
Yeah, I think I had heard about that too, and I was
Yeah.
disappointed, to say the least, that that wasn't offered for your community. Can you talk about maybe why, like, maybe filling out the census would be important, and even connect it to that piece of like not how it's not even in Marshallese language?
Mhm. I mean, I know in the 2010 census, I did see that the 2010 census was actually translated to our language. I honestly don't know why it wasn't translated for the 2020 census, but I really do wish that it was, so we can, better help our community, especially to those that, to all those that we can't reach and help, that they were able to actually go online and read it with themselves. But yeah, that was just one of the biggest. That was an obstacle that we had to overcome, but luckily we were able to help out a lot of people.
And also, I think 2010 census, there were no place that, it says Pacific. It does say Pacific Islanders, but there's no like Marshallese or you're from Kashrine. But this year, we're so glad that, there's a place that, we can check mark Marshallese. And, that's good because we get to know the numbers, uh, maybe this year or after the census.
It's good to know that we are included
Mhm.
on
Yeah.
the 2020 census, because it gives us a voice when we're not heard. So I'm just really thankful and grateful that that Marshallese was put on the 2020 census.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you highlighted that, and I mentioned the language because I think, hopefully that the next time that the census happens, here in like 10 years, that they realize the importance of creating the forms in Marshallese, and not just create a check mark for you all, but also create it so that way it's you all are able to be accounted for in a more accurate way. I know
Yes.
in the previous in the presentation you mentioned kind of more of the general benefits of what the census brings to your community, but I'm wondering if there's some in particular that you feel like are important to kind of highlight, like the ways in which it would most directly affect your community.
Oh, Richie, you could go ahead and answer that one.
Okay. Yes. So there, for example, like the art kids, that's something that, it's it was been, kind of hard for, Marshallese kids that, didn't born here in the U.S. Now any Marshallese kids that come from the island, come here, they're eligible for our kids. They can apply, without any issues or anything like that. And this is why it is very important that we share this message. Filling out the census is important. Because we have that number of we can provide, a number of Marshallese, and, if we need help with, for example, like insurance for adult, that's something that, we're still, fighting for, is to, get help for insurance um, for Marshallese adult. And yeah.
Before we wrap up today's virtual program, I'm wondering if both of you can kind of provide any sort of like last message in Marshallese to your community, to reinforce the importance of filling out the census.
Oh, Richard, do you want me or you?
Okay. Yes, yeah, I'll go. Una lukun porchonalen komono lalap kanami wajaga raloje video igna no leo jinanen raja no juno jarbali perilo kaminu din pe ilbun auruk bagayangan pokunare kane sensejin meno targar pailo melala ko malak ini bilang chaining chibango kan kaje ainigir jarbarin a rain kuila ilo chiginin jij peri ran rong ainigir chanlak lelak ay gujigina rani chuni jonda rani kachida ade nambain ne wanchong chede rumajali lu chigini melgu nauro bagajangan pokunare chechep kana be chen be ini berkeman perbani chongoli chen kia kajar bala opportunity nemman ngan kachoyo Pachena dan kane perbani na kane chen sejini pokunare ene labanchi bankach.
Ngayon para kamolo dana din Fayetteville Public Library. Can you join in a month? And all I had to say is Bunabanyam, Ainigianam, it'll 11 hours, so get counted.
Well, thank you so much to the both of you for taking the time. I always tell the presenters on a Friday evening that it's always so hard, 'cause it's like we're ready for the weekend to start. But we also know that this is a time that might be more available for a lot of our communities. And so thank you so much for joining me today. For those that are watching us through Facebook Live, that speak Marshallese, I hope you know that the Fayetteville Public Library is open to you all. And if someone, Richard, could you help me as well in interpreting this message? But we want to let you know that you're welcome in that space. We're really excited with the expansion, and we hope that when the expansion is completed, that you'll be able to join us and enjoy the expansion and everything that it brings.
So are you guys like, can people come in or?
Oh, yeah, so I can also provide an update regarding that. So right now we are open, limited hours. Our hours are available on the Fayetteville Public Library website. We will be closed September 28th, which is kind of coming up pretty soon, just to be able to complete the expansion. Right now, we don't have a timeline of when we'll open, but we're still available for curbside pickup, and that just means that you can reserve books online. I always compare it to kind of like takeout, where you call in and then you go and pick it up. So you get to do that as well with us. Is you can give me a call too if you'd like, and I can help you reserve the books. I'd be more than happy to do that for you. And then you just come to the library and we just hand you the books. So even though we'll be closed beginning September 28th, we'll still be open for curbside pickup.
Ngano dan Diana pa red pelak agilo terin red kile gewot chiginin nganair chemaron relangi chemaron call ngan ngelanga mai guji gichen belang poko ko jay ku sign out ag ngelang por kain win ko jay ku chibang jen public Fayetteville Public Library komaron call elak nambain and Fayetteville Public Library ene uligun mana ne chibang gaj Diana chune me edo charbali pen melibun kanana be kajoj rumajal chen par kajarbal library meno dan barani kile romo rali tagaran age chep melele ne be raban rani kile nganin re rani bar palak ngelang ay gu chabrewot im ko jegi kamani lo Fayetteville Public Library. Chojim kebage tayena anga kuche marong kebage. Ego kumarong kurto nga ag Marcina ilo emi emchenich konege koi akpamale wam ngani pen tayena ilo Fayetteville Public Library.
That was a lot to say, so thank you so much, Richard. Again, Marcina, Richard, thank you for your time today. Again, if you're watching this, feel free to go ahead and continue to follow us. We're going to continue our virtual sessions in Spanish and in Marshallese. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Richard and Marcina from MEI. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you for having us.